What's up everyone, my name is HMANFAST and today I'm going to be trying to help you guys decide which faction is best to do first in your Starfield playthrough. Now of course we're not going to be covering Constellation since that's the main faction that's tied to all the main mission quests. So my goal with this video is to help you guys decide between the 4 other factions, Crimson Fleet, United Colonies, Freestar Collective, and Ryujin Industries, which one will offer you the most benefits for your playthrough right off the bat. All of them take about the same time to complete, so we're really just going to be looking at the benefits. And first we'll start off with the United Colonies and joining the Vanguard. So very early on in the main story, you'll come here to this Vanguard table, and you'll be offered a position to join the Vanguard, which joins you into the United Colonies faction. The United Colonies is the first faction that I completed, and I would not only argue that it is super fun, but also it gives you a ton of money. When you combine this with the United Colonies native trait, it really does give you an insane boost for each mission that you finish with this faction. Not only that, but they also give you a bunch of gear and weapons along the way, and there's one mission specifically in this faction quest line that gives you a ton of cracked gear at one point. So with those things all combined, the money you get from each mission, the weapons that you get during some of the missions, and the armor that you get as well, really just sets this one apart for me and probably makes it the best one to do right off the bat in my eyes. And to go with all those benefits, the story itself for this faction is super interesting. There is always some new folds and wrinkles, and I always found myself very engaged with what was going on. So all in all, joining the United Colonies is probably the most beneficial and also very entertaining at the same time. If you're not sure which faction to start off with, I highly recommend doing this one first. A lot of the gear that I got from doing this faction storyline, I ended up using for a lot of my playthrough. Now let's talk about Ryujin Industries. So if you're wondering how to even join Ryujin Industries, there are kiosks located around New Atlantis. This one that I'm standing at right now is actually just across from where you join the United Colonies and the Vanguard. So just off to the right of that entrance, you walk over here and you'll find this kiosk, but there are other ones spread around New Atlantis. Once you find the kiosk, you go and you fill out an application to join Ryujin Industries. So technically Ryujin Industries does have the most quests involved with these 4 factions, but again, like I said earlier, the length of time it actually takes you to complete each faction quest line is about the same. Ryujin is another one where if you pair it with that Neon Street Rat trait, you will end up getting a bunch of money by the end of this quest line. Not only that, this one will also offer some good weapons and gear as well to go along with it. Very similar to United Colonies, with this one you'll get a lot of money right off the bat, and you also get some good weapons and gear here and there. Definitely not as much gear and weapons that you get from the United Colonies faction quest line, but it's definitely still a very good amount. Also, if you're into the whole cyberpunk theme and into the more shady, seedy, underbelly criminal world of Starfield, then this storyline is definitely up your alley. I would say the feeling of this faction and of Neon as a whole is just a very unique feeling that you don't get throughout all of Starfield. So if this faction piques your interest, then I would definitely suggest this one is also a very good one to start off with. And there are also a lot of very cool side quests that you can get on Neon. So again, if you're interested, I suggest fully fleshing out Neon and seeing all that the city has to discover. And next up we have the Freestar Collective. So if you're wondering how to join the Freestar Collective, you have to complete the first few missions of Constellation, and then it will bring you here to Aquila City. And once you're at Aquila City, you want to walk into this building in front of me called the Rock. Once you're in the Rock, you'll be offered a spot on the Freestar Rangers. So the Freestar Collective, you know, based off of their appearance, they are definitely the Wild West faction in Starfield. And again, if that's up your alley, then you're really gonna love this. But if you're not really into that thing, you might not enjoy the storyline that much. I would say it's probably not as interesting as a storyline as the other factions right off the bat. So that one to me is a little bit of a bummer. However, you do get a lot of very good rewards with this faction. And again, if you pair it with the Freestar trait, then you'll be getting a bunch of additional money when you complete each mission. And there is a very good reward that you get when you finish this faction storyline. Very small spoiler here. If you don't want to know what the reward is, then skip ahead a few seconds. But the reward when you finish the Freestar Collective storyline is a ship that is very good. It is basically a C-class tier ship, which you cannot normally fly those at the beginning of the game. Normally you have to level up your piloting skill a lot to be able to fly those C-class ships. But yeah, it is basically a C-class tier ship that is very good that you can fly without that piloting skill. So that reward that you get after completing this faction quest line is definitely a great one. However, I personally just might have enjoyed the other faction quests a little bit better than this one. But again, this is another one where it's not a bad option if you start out with this faction. And then with our next faction, we have the Crimson Fleet. Now, if you're wondering how to join the Crimson Fleet, you have to either get arrested requested by the United Colony Security, or you have to join the Vanguard. So once you do one of those two things, then you should get a mission that prompts you to be able to join the Crimson Fleet. Now, the Crimson Fleet is the only faction that I'd probably say not to do right off the bat. Again, if you really love space piracy and that is right up your alley, then go for it. But out of all the factions, the fact that this one doesn't have a trait that goes with it to give you that extra money after each mission really hurts this one. Now, it does give you a lot more money for completing each mission when you're done, and it gives you a large amount of money when you complete the faction quest line as a whole. However, I'm not sure that that really makes up for all of the other benefits that come with the other factions. Storyline, however, is very fun and very interesting with the Crimson Fleet, and I've heard a lot of people say that this quest line is definitely their favorite out of the whole game. So again, if you're super interested in this faction and into space piracy as a whole, then I would say go for it. However, just know that right off the bat, this might not be the best faction to choose because the rewards are just simply not as good as the other factions. So that was my quick summary on what are the best factions that you should choose to start out with in your Starfield playthrough. Let me know if this video is helpful, and if you have any other questions on Starfield, let me know down in the comments below. Also, let me know which faction that you've been enjoying the best so far in your playthrough. Make sure to check out all the other Starfield videos that I have on my channel. Make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see some more Starfield content. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope everyone has a good one.